else you need to do?
I'm not gonna hit.
All right, you're ready to go. Have you linked it already? Yep.
I'm all,
Hi, how are you doing, guys? Sorry, I couldn't make it up there. I another meeting this morning, so I had to
okay.
work this morning.
Oh, agenda and waiver notice. Yeah.
Bob, we're just doing a waiver of notice to have this meeting today.
Okay,
So all you have to do is
Verbally.
verbally approve.
okay, yes, okay, that's fine. I approve that, yeah.
You want me to sign one or you sign one?
No, I'll just put verbally approved. 201.
Okay, we'll call this to order. I think Melissa, you'd be the best one to run us through.
Okay, yep, just 2 seconds here.
So this is for budget 2023.
Yeah, so basically this is the same package that was presented to you at the March meeting. And there's just been a couple of minor tweaks on here because we received the money, the invoice for the policing. It's 18,000, so that's kind of noted in here. We've also updated the part of the package in regards to our requisition, the education requisition. So that's actually come in at 311,000. So it's a lot higher than kind of was expecting. But the other key note in the budget, as you walk through it, is that we over collected last year by about $5,900, and that must go back.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Before we get too far. You have to adopt the agenda.
Yes, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, all in favor of the agenda?
Who put it first, Lauren?
Yep,
Okay.
Yes,
you actually don't have.
Yeah.
Okay. So. Last year, was that on the school requisition?
Yes.
So,
It was over collected by the municipality and it will have to be given. Kind of taken off of what we're actually supposed to pay, because an over collection now has to be figured into the this year's requisition. So the rate will be adjusted to make sure we're only covering off what we're supposed to cover. You're allowed to be over or under by a certain point. But you can't be excessive like that, so we'll have to be adjusted. And there's, when we do up the tax rate bylaw, it will be listed in it. But that's in this package too. So basically, all this chart stuff and everything in here is pretty well the same. The only change is when you go to the back on page 12 of the package. Everything after is based on your March 20th, your motion to have administration revise 2024 budget to show the results of a 4% municipal mill rate increase with a minimum flat tax from $750 to $800 for undeveloped lots and reflect the current interest fees that may be earned for 2024. Since the meeting date, updates of the budget reflect the new policing cost increase, the excess collection of school requisition revenue of $5,954 that has to be deducted from this new school requisition amount. And this has been fixed in the budget as this is not municipal revenue. So attached to your package is a revised budget as requested by council. And so it shows everything as you have asked me to do and is reflecting the bottom number. And that the MGA states that a municipality must create a balanced budget and cannot operate in a deficit. So if you go to your budget page at the end of page 19, with making the changes and fixing the interest rate that we would be possibly receiving as revenue, and the changes to the requisition of the over amount that we've collected, and the flat rate fee of $800 as you guys requested with the 4%. That puts us at a deficit of $11,446.41. That if this is what you approve, are we covering that through unrestricted surplus?
So
So,
basically, I don't know how this meeting's supposed to run, but I would like to kind of go through things kind of line by line and determine whether, you know, the revenue is right or whether or not there's some savings we can get and reduce some expenses.
okay, normally you don't go line by line through the budget, you have to look at your services. So what is your services you wanna stop doing, or you wanna cut, or you wanna cut back on? To be able to say where you're gonna reduce,
Why would you not go line by line?
because that's not normally, council's not supposed to go line by line, like if you can. You're taking $200 off what, the goods and services you purchase, it gets dicey because that's. Not how the budget works. The role of us is to provide the services that you guys tell us to provide. And the upkeep and the maintenance. So if we're not gonna do some of that, that's a service cut that we'll have to look at.
Okay,
Like, does that make sense?
yeah, but there's a few things that I question on certain lines, like
Okay,
firstly, in administration revenue.
Yeah.
Dock permits, are we gonna have as many dock permits this year with the lake level being down? So is that a realistic number or an unrealistic number?
I think it's pretty realistic, Bob, as far as I'm getting calls from people. And they wanna know whether they should apply or not. And I'm saying probably should, because if you don't apply, then you could possibly lose your spot.
Exactly, no, and that makes sense to me too, but that's, I just wanted to make sure that that was correct, yeah.
Yeah,
Have
and-
you had any calls saying that they're not gonna put their docks out? I've had lots.
Yeah, but they still.
they don't wanna lose their
They
spots.
don't wanna lose their spot.
Well, whether they're gonna lose their spot or not, I don't know, so.
And
I just-
as of today, Aaron can tell you how many we've received so far, and we still got more coming in.
Yes, so I have received 15 applications and. So 11 have been approved and the 4 are waiting extra documentation or payment or whatever else I'm waiting on, but I'm at 15 already.
So normally how many do we have?
We've had about 65-ish in the past,
And
average.
this time last year, how many do we have?
I wouldn't know that for sure, no. So I also have it on our website too, under our development, so where I do our RV developments are like the RV permits and the development permits. And subdivision permits, it's on there too, and you can see. What number they are, what address they live at, what GPS location they've done it, and when the letter was issued.
Yeah.
So I kind of put it on the website too.
And then what's in your guys' control over the dock permits is it's your policy. If you wish to increase it, that is your call. That's the revenue that you can balance, like I can't say it's going to. affect this budget you're passing right now, but it will help moving forward. But that is all dependent on a council decision. If you wish to keep it exactly the same this year, you can, or at your next council meeting, we're bringing you the fees for service bylaw. You can reassess and decide if you want to increase it, and it would be effective when you actually pass it.
And it could be, well, it's still early yet, I mean, the ice is on the lake. But I have had a number of calls about that. Now there's kind of a glitch that is in there that may be slowing the direction as well, because Environment and Protective Services now say that we have to get a TFA, temporary field authorization. But they stopped that in 2022, after the first year we were doing it, or 2021. So I don't know what happened, but I was thinking about it. And I think it was stopped because they were gonna do our shoreline plan, or our lease on the right of way. And they were gonna make one blanket TFA for all the docks to go in there, and that's why they stopped it. That's what I'm kind of remembering. But now they want every individual to do one again, so you gotta have your number, which everybody has, like their ID number. Now they're gonna have to get a TFA. But if they're not putting it in the water, do they need a TFA, or do they just need our crossing? This is kind
If
of.
they're going to anything to do with the dock, they must meet the provincial requirements. The crossing for us is just saying that we're tracking you going across and giving you permission, because you require that for your TFA. But if you put a dock in and someone complains, and we're gonna forward the list of who has requested from us and paid us for the crossing, and it ends up in Alberta Environment's hands, then it comes down on whatever the province is gonna do, and they're gonna enforce it. But when I reviewed with Alberta Environment and many discussions with them, and to tell them, how can you transfer to us and put it under our LOC when we applied to renew in 2019 and we have not even received our approval? So how can you download that to the municipality and we don't even have the approval that you approved when we put it in before it was to expire? Before docks and permits came in.
Yeah, it's a real screw up. But anyway, that might be slowing things down too, Bob. I'm just
Okay,
not sure.
yeah, no, that's fine. I just. Okay, this. Second question I have on revenue, I guess, quickly is. You came up with 17,000 on. Return on investments. We had. You had 4 and I had sort of talked about 24. At that last meeting, so you're counting on about 3% interest on the money?
Well, because of the way the terms of everything come in, like the one that we presented to you guys said the 17, actually some of that was calculated into 2023's because the maturity date only came into 3 months of the year. We've been changing to get a high interest savings account, which we've got that now in place, so we're transferring money to that, but again, we're trying to predetermine what it could be, but there's no guarantee. Because we're balancing the 2024 when a lot of that came in 2023 and only 3 months of that 17,000 is 2024's. Do you see what I'm saying?
Not really. What I'm.
Okay.
Because are we sticking money in a GIC, or are we totally relying on the high interest savings account?
We still have 3, yes,
One GSC.
we have 1 GIC still in again for another round. The other GIC we completed out because of the office and everything going on with that before we reinvest. So that's going into the high interest savings account because we will be using that as drawing that money for the office completion.
So what is the, okay, so what is the, interest rate on the high interest savings account?
That was provided to you guys back in, oh,
What changes? So,
we put in that 17,000 in here as a guesstimate that we're going to hopefully still get that kind of revenue. But we can't give you a guarantee on it, but we're gonna use that as a number.
okay, that's fine.
So we tried to go with what we actually can see.
So
Well, that
basically, a lot of that money that's in the GICs right now, you're saying is money that's actually money that's money that we're holding in trust for grants that
Grants.
we're going to spend. Is that correct?
Correct?
Okay.
And as we just about got the capital budget organized, Lori's just reviewing to make sure, and you guys can see what is actually the restricted grant money, what's unrestricted, and how it's gonna play when it comes across.
We want to see what we reinvested back.
Yeah, and what you'll have extra and what's reinvested. So we're bringing everything down with your whole capital plan, so you can see how those funds will be distributed based on a 5-year capital plan. And you'll see how and your new grants coming in, which are quite low. So as we use the money, the new funds that come in aren't gonna be as high as what we had previous years.
So what we do have is 2019 on, right?
Yes, to 20. I don't think we got 2023s yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are some funds that we know we can calculate. That will be ours, once we complete all these phases of their deadlines. Cause normally, if you have your plan submitted, and you spend at least 10%, your funds are released. They're good, and you just keep balancing. But when I looked at all the capital plans and kind of getting it all spread out. Well, your stormwater management, that's 1.2. In total of projects.
So there's still some has to be some sitting in Edmonton still quite a bit.
Well, that's what we are gonna continue to keep pulling down, but we're meeting the deadlines. We know we're good this year because of the office. We are set. We will meet another deadline. So, yeah. But we can say we have lots of grant money that we haven't spent, but we are spending it now as we're creating our plans.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I didn't, like I say, I just, I wasn't sure exactly what we're, and well, obviously what there is on the the GI, how much exactly. So we have close to $1 million, right? Or about 900,000 or something, if I remember correctly. But we had about
Yes.
600 in GICs, right?
Yes, but now we only have 300 that we reinvested in GICs, and we kept back the other 300 because of the rest of the office.
Yeah, and that right now is in the high interest savings account.
That's where we're putting it, yes.
It
Okay.
just needs to be.
Because we would lose more investment if we locked it in for that year and we pulled it out too early, we would lose.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
It's a balancing act. I wish I could say it was better, but it's balancing. Any other items?
Not in revenue.
Okay. So the total revenue based on everything, is 975,982.
Mhm.
Now, a lot of that revenue, like the budget is basing it on kind of what we saw last year and perceiving this year. We're hoping, but a lot of that is in additional revenue is things the council wants to consider as options for revenue source to offset expenses. So at your next council meeting, in your new council package for Wednesday's meeting, we provided you guys a fees for service bylaw to review, which lays out the things that we get requests on and things that we should be looking at for the services we do and how to collect revenue off that to help offset expenses. But those will help build for the next. I can't give you a guarantee until you've reviewed it all.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. And then administration will continue to find as many cost savings as we can in our purchasing and all that, so that we make sure that we are doing the best with the values for our goods. So, yeah, like, we're part of the RMA. So we have made sure that, their procurement opportunities they have there for our goods, we can go through them and we get extra discounts, which is cost savings. So we're tightening that up to make sure everything we do for purchasing, like staples, so we can get extra cost savings on top. UFA, same things, so that we can start utilizing those savings.
Okay, so now, I guess as far as, expenses, I have some expenses that I want to go over.
Okay.
It's sort of in transportation and, Parks and Rec and stuff. Is there
Okay.
a provision to go in camera for this part or not?
That would be depending on what you wanna go in camera for. I can't say for sure, like, is this something going into a different area, like, is it personnel or is it? Because if it's personnel, then that's where we have to decide, is that your role or is that administrative role? So it's up to you guys. If it's personnel and there's an issue you wanna talk about, then that's up to you guys.
It's related to budget though. Bob?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't see a problem if it's a budget.
Okay,
item.
do you want to do a Teams thing to Bob?
Yes.
Give us a second, we'll create the Teams thing and then we will pause this one and you guys can do a motion to go in camera.
Give me a second.
Yeah,
That can work so fast. This.
There's also that. Like, our building here is $1,600 a month, and then the utilities and everything else, it's probably close to $2,000 a month, isn't it? That we've been paying.
in total, you mean for the rent and the utilities?
Yeah.
Utilities have been about 400 and some a month,
yeah, about that,
and then your rent is 1860 with the GST.
yes. But we did calculate that should be coming a transfer from reserves because you can't plan, we couldn't plan for that.
No,
So that's kind of calculated into this budget.
outside of reserve.
Yes. And that's why we're moving as fast as we can to get out to the site. Yeah,
Okay, I've got the thing. Do I go off,
Just gonna find the proper FOIP section.
yeah, she's just gotta make sure that when we do your resolution, if you're going into camera.
What's it, like, so you can go in for third party business interest, third party personal privacy, individual or public safety, law enforcement, intergovernmental relations, economic or other interests. Those are
Or
your,
personnel, human resource.
well, that one was,
Or the economic
economic or other interests.
economic
It's-
interest?
budget.
Okay,
Hold on. It's sections. 25 to 29. Okay, move by, who wants to move into that?
who's doing the motion, Bob?
Sure.
Okay, and it's,
Okay.
It's at 228.
yeah.
Okay, all in favor?
Yeah.
Okay,
I will do my stuff on this end. Bob, you want to switch over to Teams?
Yeah, I'll just do that.
All right, now you can
Sorry, I think
go
I was
back.
in the wrong meeting here. Sorry.
It's like,
You're there now.
I'm good. Okay, thanks, guys.
We need a motion.
Who wants to do the motion?
Yeah.
have you opened up the public there?
Yes. Yes, I don't need to open up the public because it's still streaming.
Okay,
All right, to move out of camera, sorry, at a 3:33.
I'm good, okay.
Sorry, that's the Zoom, I was double checking on Zoom,
okay,
we're not Zoom.
so who made the motion to come on camera?
Yes. He did, yeah.
Okay, all in favor to come out of
Yes.
camera?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, back to the budget and talking about. At the last meeting, you guys asked me to revise the budget with the 4%. You were okay with the 4% as I had calculated through the last package. But you asked for the flat minimum tax to be 800. So you wanted me to bring back the numbers to show you what it would look like and how it reflected in this budget. So when I did that, that's where you got your 11,000 because your flat tax is the one that sets. You have some properties that don't have the assessment like the other properties and vacant properties. Which is the R ones that just park the temporary RV, right? So they're all using the same services, same way. And your maintenance costs don't change whether you have an RV or not. You're still using all the same services. So the minimum tax is that balance. To have. Those others, it gets redistributed, so it becomes more fair on the others that have the higher assessment.
What was their
values.
flat tax last year?
650.
No.
750.
You've had 750 since 2023 and 2022. So in your package on page 21. We pulled. All Summer Village municipalities. And we showed to show you what their 2022 tax rates were, whether they have minimum tax, what kind of minimum tax they've had over 2022, 2023, how some of them do it. And kind of just shows you their kind of tax rates that they have. What their total residential assessment is, so I thought this is really good information for you guys to be able to see. Kind of what's going on out in other summer villages within the province.
I guess the thing is with this chart, you have to realize. Why do they need the flat tax? And also wherever the village is, what kind of assessment would be there? Because of location. And also they may need help with infrastructure. We don't have sewer and water, so that's a big deal. So there's lots of reasons for it. And if it goes up, if you put it up another $100, then there's about another $9,000, right?
Yes, it makes a huge difference.
So what difference does it
here.
make if we only put it up, say $50?
I have a chart for you.
So would that help? Is that gonna help?
Right there. She gave you.
Okay.
I put into your package on page 20 or 21 or 22, where you'll see where I just did a whole bunch of calculations of. That minimum tax and how it sits, and you can see the huge difference, it jumps by $4,000 to $5,000.
Yeah, and it is a tool for. but it's not sustainable because as soon as you get a lot, then you lose that. I guess you still charge it, but it doesn't make a difference to someone that's paying more than the
Correct,
800, yeah.
yeah.
So it's a way of getting revenue right now. But it changes constantly.
Mhm.
And a lot of municipalities also use it as an encouragement tool of saying, you know, you may have some properties that just aren't being fixed up. So it balances things because then it's an encouragement also to either increase or renovate. Vacant lots are more encouraged to sell for development, which then helps the community moving forward. But if you look, 2022, you were 750, 2023, you were 750. And then when I look at some of the other municipalities like Belle Quentin, Sunset Point, they actually have continually increased it annually. So it's just flows. Just like you do with your
Every
other,
year,
yes.
on a yearly basis.
Mhm.
I don't disagree going up $50, that's for sure. I mean, that's just the
Well, it could,
way of the times.
it could do.
Which is where
It would-
you asked me to look at.
Yeah.
Was the 800, and that's
And-
where we're in the deficit.
Okay, so we're good with that.
Well, it could be more. And then the other part of it is. Which is not, I guess it's really not here nor there, but. One of the concerns was before. Is that you could have a vacant lot that was paying more taxes than a lot that had a property on it that was developed.
Right.
But it wouldn't, because if you could have a property that has a house that's been on there for 20 years. They're gonna pay the minimum.
Yeah, but a little, yeah.
They're
they
paying
would-
the minimum
They
tax
would
then,
pay the tax as well.
so
So
that they're not getting where it's not saying vacant lot, it's also saying those that don't do anything. If you've got a smaller cabin and it's not assessed very high, you get the minimum. So now you're matching even the vacant lots, right? So it is a way of balancing out to cover, because your services and your operations isn't gonna change. And the cost to do all that is increasing. So if you would have last year increased your minimum tax, you would have been at 800 last year by $50. But it wasn't.
well, people look at taxes in certain ways. They look at their tax bill and then they see that. They won't see the 800 on there if it's already there over. But they'll see the minimum tax. But then also if it's a lot, let's say and we do have people out there that are on fixed income for sure.
Yeah.
And it's kind of taking it from a mill rate increase and putting it on the minimum tax for some people. And it's still, the taxes are going up, however you
Correct.
slice it and dice it.
Yeah.
So I guess it's the thing that's done, but also in this chart, there's a lot of people that don't collect it.
Well, that was what I thought too, but when I
They may
started,
get it on,
when
push it
I,
onto the mill rate then.
yes. And if you look, you will see the differences in the mill rates. Like White Sands is at 2.89. This is what you were dealing with back then. And we're not too far off of that. You got some here that are already in the 4.8, 6.33. And the 6.33 has the minimum tax at $12.50 in 2023.
Yeah, and then,
So if those people who have over that minimum tax threshold, they are paying 6.33 on that larger assessed value, right?
and it also depends on the size of the villages, but some of them just don't have hardly any.
Yeah,
So the graph is really just for information.
yeah, because Val Clinton has 178, you look at Sunset Point, it has 364. And they have a. Well, that's pretty close to us, cause we're listed at 320 number of residences. So if you look at that. Sunset Point is pretty close with us. 364, their minimum tax is 1273 back in 2023. And their tax rate is 5.72, that's their mill rate. Ours is not there.
Yeah, but we don't know what infrastructure they got out there, so.
Correct.
Like it's, we can't go ahead with the deficit. budget. So we gotta do something. And that's one possibility for sure. And then the staffing may help.
Yep, and I'm gonna rejig. The budget will still hold room for the contracting and stuff. I will deal with on staffing personnel levels through my role. I'll get working on that. But still, you have, this budget has that room for if I hire more summer students, it's still gonna have those things. More costs, it'll come just rejigging, but we need to balance the budget. We could have more contracting, for sure.
So even if that minimum went up $100. That would still, just that alone would not do the deficit, but then also with the wages, it could.
Yeah, adjust those accordingly. Even if it's a couple of thousand here or there.
So what you're saying is if we did minimum tax 850, is that what I'm hearing? Plus the 4%, which gives the deficit showing there of 233. And rejig the budget to make that a balanced budget, you would accept it? Or do you, or,
We don't have any choice as far
Yeah.
as the budget has to balance.
yeah,
Like. There's no choice there.
yeah,
Yeah, so we do that. Go to 850 on that and then make adjustments, a few little adjustments on staffing and stuff and to bring down a couple of $1,000 or contract services and balance the budget that way. I really think we're gonna get a little bit more on return on investments than 17,000.
and you may get more with your relooking at your fees for service bylaw, but I just can't
You can't count on
guarantee.
it. No, we can't guarantee
Yeah.
it, but I honestly think that we're gonna get I don't see. I think we're gonna do okay on the return on investments here, but yeah.
Well, I was gonna ask you,
Yep. Oh, which one are you looking at?
well, the RV permit revenue and expense.
Yep,
So that's on page 29, Bob.
Okay, yeah,
So if the total revenue on that is 19,000.
yeah, but remember, as they get a development permit, that goes away. That's not a guarantee. Once they do a development for a primary dwelling unit, that RV permit goes.
Right, yeah, I'm not saying that,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering with the amount of administration that's put on there. So permits coming in at $19,000 and your income is 3,500.
Yeah,
So this expenses for administration, I mean, you can't do it hour by hour, actually, but you're just kind of estimating, right?
yes,
So it could be a lot more than this 3,500.
correct. But moving forward, after we get more situated out there. We are moving more of that internal
So
here,
development officer's not doing it.
yes.
Okay,
So we're hoping that that may be another area that we will tighten things up and more internal in our office, which might not take as much time of the development officer's extra time and cost. So just tweaking of those things that we're now trying to, where can we balance now that we have the staffing ourselves? Does that make sense? We're not sharing,
Right.
we're looking after our municipality.
and then the other is the boat motor, but did you remove that already?
My recommendation, and it's what's coming in your next,
Next week's meeting.
no, May's meeting with the capital budget. Is I recommended in the package here that we should revert to the next year.
But this is also grant money, right, capital?
That's what we're checking. That's what Lori was checking out, whether we could take it out of the grant money.
Okay, so if it's not, then obviously it's,
That's why we wanna make sure we know exactly where it's coming from, so we are investigating, is it covered under grant money? And then we'll allocate it properly.
and you might have a problem with that because it's portable.
I don't know if it'll be covered, cause
Yeah.
you have to fight with them over vehicles sometimes, so I'm thinking this, they may call it maintenance and no, you can't. Or do we try to cover it in another way, so that's a rejig of some things,
Right.
yeah.
And then the blade for,
This has to be done, it
Right.
has no life left,
so that one would be,
just regular equipment maintenance is what I have it under. Yeah. So I kind of listed that under, I will walk you through what I had listed. So. Community hall renovation funding. So that's coming from operating reserve is what we budgeted here. Municipal office temporary rental, that's out of operating reserves, so we made sure we covered that part off. The V blade is equipment repairs,
what page you on?
page 12. Yeah, right there. And then the new outboard motor for the boat, we got that, we're trying to do that under the MSI grants operating reserve, we're trying to figure that out. I still think it should be postponed to 2025, I just don't see why we need to do it right now. But we'll continue working through that and have more for you on that. The address signage for Buffalo Estates, that's out of the. Some you can take it out of operating reserves, but I think it can come more out of our just basic. Signage and stuff like that, but I have to make sure I know exactly how many we're doing and the cost. Basketball hoop installation, I've got that under transportation park. Relocation of dumpsters, we were trying to do as much as we can internal and the rest will go under when we do the office site. And that goes under the grant. Tree removal, that's transportation park. So basically I had, gravel sander for truck, so these are all under grant stuff for capital. Which I will bring to you guys in May to get final approval on what your thoughts. And then we'll finalize that. That's all grant,
Okay,
Pretty
just- I have a question
yep,
under. Parks and Recreation, Right
Okay,
at the very bottom on page 18,
page 18.
planting material. What does that consist of? We were budgeted 56.24 last year. Now we got no budget for it this year.
Planting material. The 5624.
Yeah.
That's what you spent.
Okay, what was that for?
That would have been all of the trees. Yep,
Are we budgeting, not budgeting for trees this year?
I was gonna put that under as vegetation in your capital plan, because you said you wanted to figure out
Change
something
that
there.
over to a different department.
Oh, okay.
Remember, we did the strategic planning and we put some of that stuff all in parks and
Okay,
Yeah, so I kind of moved it in under your capital plan and.
so
then
what did we
talk
budget
about that.
for then?
I've got. I have to go back into it.
Close to the same?
Oh, we'd have to,
Yeah.
but then again, that's another contracted service, so. I wanna make sure that whatever we're doing, if we can do it under grants, then we do it under grants. So that it covers those costs.
Yeah.
If we can't, then that's the question we'll talk about is that gonna be something coming out of reserves? Right?
Okay,
Unless you want me to actually put that number in here, which will increase our deficit.
well,
And I think there's grant opportunities in other different private grant opportunities, but I need time to get into those.
well, I think that should prioritize over a lot of stuff, so those trees.
Yeah,
For sure.
and that could be, like I said, a Fortis grant, those are private companies, UFAs, co-ops, they all have kind of what beautification, they call it, type of things. And how to make better encouragement for green environments, so that's what I'm thinking is we need to start trying to find other sources than taking from revenues that we. And taxpayer dollars, make sense?
Mhm, mhm.
Okay. So a lot of stuff I provided just kind of in as background info for you guys. Is there any other questions, any more?
No, that's all I've got.
So you feel confident enough to make the final resolution that I work and bring back that budget as a 3-year? Based on this and this firm? And I balance it.
Yes,
no use bringing us a budget that isn't that, that is.
Yeah, it's got a balance.
I can balance it. I just needed to make sure that I knew exactly where those things sat to make sure I can finish. And do the 3-year, because we have to do the 3-year. So you'll be doing the 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027 to 28, right? Yeah, because the 3-year has to be after this year's and 3.
25, 26, 27.
Yeah,
25, 26, 27. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm just gonna base it exactly what you've got here. The only other question would be, do you want me to slowly do a $25 increase per year on the minimum tax going forward? Or are we gonna stay flat $850 every year?
I think it's gonna have to go up with cost of living.
Okay,
I think $25 a year is probably reasonable. It's gonna have to go up with cost of living. Because we haven't really raised it in a few years, right? So We're doing
That's
a
right.
little more significant raise this year, but it hasn't really increased in 2 or 3 years, has it?
2 years for sure. And
What are we increasing it now? What are we talking? $100?
Yeah.
Yeah.
$100. Yeah,
But it didn't,
yes, but the 4% will be on anybody above that minimum. Yeah. So your tax rate now will change from. Let me find it. I had everything here. Oh, I've lost it.
So to me, the big culprit is either wages or requisitions on these tax increases.
Most of it's just your cost of increase of doing business and everything, because we've had huge things, all of your payroll stuff went up. You got your carbon tax went up, even goods and services now have just become ridiculous. And now we're trying to find cost savings and going through certain things to get more discounts if we can, because we just can't keep up with these things.
Well, I don't,
And the grant money is going down,
yeah,
Yeah,
but it's really apparent with the
yeah,
allotment, with the new system.
expectations are high. Costs are high, you're balancing. Yeah, but this 4% is nothing compared to, I don't know, what's Calgary looking at?
8.5.
Edmonton's right up there too. So,
So do we need to make a motion here and vote on this?
yes, so it lays out exactly what I'm doing with the budget. So it's, yeah.
So motion that we accept the budget with the changes that we have advised.
Okay, hold on, how about motion to approve budget changes? To that, you're approving the 4%,
Yeah,
you're approving the minimum tax at $8.50. And in the 3-year budget, you will increase the minimum tax by $25 per year moving forward.
yes.
And that, that's not set in stone, because we have to do the budget every year, but they need an idea of what's going on, that's what
Yeah.
they extended.
Fair enough.
Something to $8.50, right? Yeah.
Okay, so budget changes of a 4% mill rate increase. Or increase. Increase. And then an increase of the minimal tax at $8.50, and what was the?
$8.50 for 2024. And to increase
Increase the minimal tax by,
I wanted to use exponentially by $25 per year. Moving forward, is that the right wording? Please, somebody help me.
Not exponentially.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. How do you put that?
Well, just to increase it by budget for a $25 increase of $25 per year in the minimum tax.
so, to increase the minimal tax by $25 per year thereafter.
Going forward.
2024.
Yes.
Or going thereafter 2024.
So what we will do is we will update the council meeting package on Monday. And we will provide you with exactly what your resolution is in a 3-year budget for approval.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
Okay, sure, I'm
Yes.
gonna read this,
thank you.
make sure. I hold this right.
What's today?
You're gonna be doing this.
Monday, yeah, okay, I have to read the motion.
Yeah.
It's a move by Counselor.
Weekend.
We're well prepared.
Moved by Counselor Huff to approve the budget changes of an increase of a 4% mill rate and an increase. An increase of the minimal tax to $850 for 2024. And to increase the minimal tax by $25 per year thereafter 2024. That sounds weird. Or
To set
going
up to,
forward.
to budget for a $25 increase per year going forward.
$1 increase.
Tentatively budget for $25 increase going forward.
Yeah,
Tentatively budget for it. That's fine. No.
it's just so that that 3-year budget has a reflection for you
It's a
guys.
minimum or minimal?
It's a minimum.
Okay, I gotta change that earlier. Increase in minimum tax.
So if you read it, can you read it out so we can?
Hold on, let me give you a quick little read to make my grammar page. Please. Okay. Moved by Counselor Huff to approve the budget changes of an increase of a 4% mill rate, an increase of the minimal tax. To $850 for 2024. And to tentatively budget for a $25 increase on minimal tax going forward.
Does that sound right to you?
Yes,
Okay.
Okay, now you can vote.
All in favor?
yes,
Motion carried. Okay, adjournment? Are we done?
Well, just so that you're all aware, we are going to make sure Monday morning, we update and get you the 3-year operating for you to approve at the next meeting. Balance,
okay,
okay,
On
based on this,
Wednesday.
you betcha, because then we gotta work on tax rate bylaw. That comes in your May meeting, because your tax notices go out.
We're hoping the 21st.
Yeah, so that's why the operating budget was key, because we've got to meet the timelines to get your tax rate bylaw and get your assessments out. In May, we'll bring you your whole capital, which is based on grants, and then you authorize with what you're proceeding on. And if you're over what your grant allocation is, then you will decide if you're going to use reserves or not. Make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. And we'll have that set up to your capital plan will go from now to 2030. Which is you'll review every year. They're fluid. Okay.
Hey, German,
Thank you,
Okay.
guys.
thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
You bet.
See that?